Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religious tradition that was formed from the consolidation of true religions, Unitarianism and Universalism. In America, the Universalist Church of America was founded in 1793, and the American Unitarian Association in 1825. After consolidation in 1961, these faiths became the new religion of Unitarian Universalism through the Unitarian Universalist Association, or UAA. Unitarian Universalism has principles of their faith, just like every other religion. Here are the 7 base principles that all Unitarian Universalists live by. The inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equality, and compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another, and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations, free and responsible search for truth and meaning, the right of conscience and all the use of democratic process within our congregation and society at large, goal of world peace, liberty, and justice for all, and respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are all a part. Unitarian Universalism is a religion that takes pride in being a big part of the community. Unitarian Universalists are very involved in protests that help protect people from being marginalized or discriminated against. The Unitarian Universalists pride themselves in trying to make sure that every human being, no matter what creed, skin color, or ideology they follow, will be safe, and that every human will not have to go through the damnation of hell, because they believe that everybody will be saved. In doing so, they see the love and true good nature of all human beings, and the potential that we all have to be saved. This involvement in the community is very evident, and it has shown through the history of Unitarian Universalism. Both Unitarians and Universalists became active participants in many social justice movements in the 19th and 20th centuries. Many Unitarian Universalists have caused sparks in the past. Theodore Parker was a prominent abolitionist defending fugitive slaves and offering support to American abolitionist John Brown. Charles Spear, who called for prison reform. Gridley Howe, who built schools for the blind. And Clara Barton, the Civil War angel of the battlefield, who became the founder of the Red Cross. For the last 2 centuries, Unitarian Universalists have been at the forefront of movements working to free people from whatever bonds may oppress them. As a matter of fact, in 1996, the Church of the Unitarian Universalists affirmed same-sex marriage. A thought-provoking moment was the pagan rituals and chants. Each of us embraced the pagan part of the sermon, and it changed our point of view. This opened the door into the mind of a Unitarian Universalist, embracing each religion and person as equally as important as the next. A moment that sums up the experience would be when we had to stand up and introduce ourselves after being identified as newbies. There was a welcoming atmosphere, not one of forced ideals, and we felt that was what being the part of the Unitarian Universalist Church is all about.
Minority identity has many definitions, but the most common is a group of people because of their physical or cultural differences are singled out from others from which society they live in. This concept impacted my understanding of the Unitarian Universalists by realizing that minority groups can be anywhere and everywhere. Because I had no idea of what a Unitarian Universalist was, much less that there was a church for them here in town. I was a minority within a minority group because they spotted me right away and knew I was a newbie. For they greeted and welcomed me to their church. Everyone was polite and showed me hospitality. In conclusion, the Unitarian Universalist welcomes everyone regardless of their background, and to them, minority is a dirty word because no one should be considered left out.
Evaluative dimension is the concept of how cultures may have different views of what words or phrases mean to them. They can have good or bad meanings. When I attended my cultural space, the Unitarian Universalist Church, the sermon was about paganism. Evaluative dimension played a big role in my experience because paganism to me has always meant witchcraft. It has always had a sinful connotation. After the sermon was over, I attended the adult education gathering. There, we all had a discussion to further our understanding of paganism. We addressed the evaluative dimension about paganism, and I left with a different understanding of the belief. I was able to cut down stereotypes and experience evaluative dimension firsthand.
Orientation phase relies on non-interpersonal information to get to know one another. As the sermon commenced and the pagan rituals and chants started, I began to feel a little uncomfortable. But I wanted to go in the shoes of a Unitarian Universalist. Doing so, I felt a lot less uncomfortable with what was going on. I thought about the Aztecs and how they accepted Jesus because of their similarities with the sacrifices. And it kind of was the same for me. What I had planned to be academic interviews for research in the church quickly became simple conversations with people of the church. I got to know them personally and didn't really learn much about the church, but I did learn a lot about the people within the church. These were people that cared and were very involved in the community. They were very protective over minorities, and they felt discrimination was simply unacceptable. If I could have a redo of my experience, I would take part in dropping a stone in the water bowl. They do this to show that every action affects everything around us. The stone displaces water and raises the water level. I thought this was a good lesson, and it kind of hit home for me.